Hey everybody, in this episode of the GH Report, Christina is getting deprogrammed, Sam almost loses her clothes, Sam is fading, and Sonny is getting ready for his big shoot in Architectural Digest magazine. We're going to break it all down next.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Hey everybody, welcome to the GH Report. This is the show that breaks down all the latest shenanigans there in Port Charles. I'm Frank Moran.
I'm Carla and Nina.
And as always, folks, like us on Facebook, give us 5 stars on iTunes, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and Carla's got her iPad up and running, which means the chat is up and running.
I do, and let's do a shout out because I have the right contacts in today, so I can actually see Joe Costanza, Lisa Wagner, Tom Cleve, Annie Goen, Kelly Public Cover, Loretta Dulamon, what's up, y'all? And Annie Goen, what's up, what's up?
Yes.
Welcome.
So before we break down in detail this past week, Carla, overall, what did you think of this week?
It was a slow burn week again for me this week. It was a little bit of a slow burn, but we did have an introduction of a new recast, so that was interesting. I kind of liked her.
Yeah?
I liked her, but you know, in the chat room, Joe Costanza, because he got jokes, he said new Valerie needs to wear a wig and look like Brittany Sarpy.
It certainly, there are women that I enjoy that have, hair various different lengths.
Mm-hmm.
I
You
probably
didn't like her hair short?
admittedly, it didn't do much for me.
Well, maybe they're doing, so the short hair, I think the short hair thing, which is kind of stereotypical to a certain extent because Valerie is borderline lesbian. So maybe they had the new Valerie have short hair because of that, which, like I said, is very stereotypical because you don't have to have short hair to be a lesbian. I wore my hair short for years and I'm not a lesbian, so I'm just saying. I'm just like, what the hell? I saw that and I was like, really? That's what we're going to do? But she's a good actress. I like her. She's a little older.
She is.
Than Christina is, so I don't know how that's going to work out because Christina looks 12 compared to this new Valerie.
Very true. Although, me and Christina has had an eye for older women in the past. So.
But even that older woman that she was with before didn't look as old as this chick does compared to Christina.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, because certainly it felt like Brie and Christina were more contemporaries.
Yeah.
Than this.
So I don't know.
Well, let's jump into what is probably getting the hottest traction on social media right there. The biggest thing happening in Port Charles is Sonny's new kitchen.
No, they were all up on Twitter talking about, I forget who it was. It might have been Michael B. I think it was Michael B. Michael B. was like, his kitchen looks different than what I thought it was going to look like. Sonny is always bragging about how well he cooks. Did you think his kitchen was going to look any less stellar than what it did?
I was thinking, it's a really nice looking kitchen for sure. But even
look how
I was
big
thinking,
the house is. Of course, that kitchen is huge.
Yeah, but I was also thinking, would it be white? I was not thinking white as the primary color of the kitchen. I was thinking more of deep dark browns or something like that. I'm thinking, I was thinking more
everything else is dark brown, so.
Yeah. And it's also
whole house is dark. The kitchen got to be light. You got to see what you cutting. I'm just saying. You can't have no dark kitchen. You can't see where the knife is going. That's not hot.
Now, I did make that joke about the Architectural Digest magazine, but it doesn't seem too far-fetched from a show that is getting a live, at least countrywide coverage of their nurses' ball, that some reputed mobster would be featured in an Architectural Digest magazine.
I cannot.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like, oh yeah, let's go talk to this, he's a coffee importer / perhaps potential bad boy my boss.
First of all, I'm just like, why are y'all trying to I think they just trying to throw us off for a minute from the other shenanigans that are going down in Port Charles this week.
The show's not going to spend the time or money on a set that they don't feel like they can get a lot of usage out of. So if you're going to build a Sonny set, a kitchen set, I feel like you're gearing up for us to see some scenes in there, which I'm totally down for.
I don't know.
Because it'd be better than seeing scenes. It's like as much as that living room area.
We had to see some other part of the house. Because honestly, over the years, I don't think we've ever seen Sonny's kitchen. We've only ever seen that foyer leading to the door.
Yep.
We've only seen the upstairs bedroom or a couple of bedrooms, the one that Morgan was in Sonny's bedroom, and we've only seen that family room which leads out to that balcony. That's all that I can remember that we've ever seen of his house. So I'm kind of glad they showed a new part of his house that don't look like the rest of it, because even the bedrooms are dark.
Yeah.
Dark brownish, grayish, blackish action happening.
Because they're always holding secrets.
I hate you right now. I cannot stand you. But I have no problem with Sonny's kitchen. I'm glad it was, like I said, I cook, so you can't be in no kitchen that's dark. You will slice your finger off. You have to see what you're doing. I'm just saying.
I did like, though, that this is the one time, because any other time we have ever seen somebody come into Sonny's house, it's coming through the front door. You know?
Right.
This time, though, when Michael is hanging out with him, he leaves through the back door of the kitchen.
He did, which I was like, that's strange.
That's a long walk around, isn't it?
I'm like, is he going through another garage? Like, what's happening? I thought that too. I was like, where he going? What's he doing? Okay, Michael. Oh, speaking of Michael, so let's plop this down for a second. So Michael and so there were a couple of little bad scenes this week, which I thought about you and I laughed out loud. So there was the one with him and Sasha, the post-coital discussion where they were talking about everything, and then he leaves, and then Sasha leaves, and then they go to see their separate families, and both of them now first, that was one thing about being in that kitchen. So he in there hacking and sneezing and coughing all over everything. I'm like, did not one person think to like pull out a Clorox bottle or some Lysol and wipe the counters down? Like, he just sneezing, throwing germs everywhere. And then she goes to the hospital, and Nina's like, oh my God, what's wrong with you? But this is an interesting twist for Sasha, because they're gonna run some tests on her, and I think it's gonna come out that she's really not Nina's daughter.
Yeah, but are they doing DNA tests?
They're not going to do any DNA tests, but more often than not, when somebody gets, because I think that right now they're just showing that they got a little cold, a little sneeze, but I think it's going to end up being a little more than that. And when it does end up being more than that, they may need a blood sample from Nina, and they're going to find out real quick that Nina's not going to be a match.
It is interesting how quickly this came out, and that, you know, of course, Carly and Nina both put two and two together, that Michael and Sasha have hooked up, that both of them are just like deadly
just giddy
sick.
About it.
Yeah.
They were just giddy about it, to the point where Nina just practically shoved Michael in that room so hard. It's a wonder he didn't fall on top of Sasha. She was like, no, get in there. Phew. I was like, dang, girl, she got some muscle. I'm like, she been lifting weights. What's going on? She shoved him in that room so hard, and Carly pressed him, but Michael's like, yeah, when there's something to know about, I'll let you know. And she was like, because she meddles so much.
I know people have talked about it. We've even talked about this for a while. But Michael, I mean, he was, involved with Nell for a little bit, but he's never really had like a stable relationship for the longest time. And if he has, it's been with somebody that's cuckoo bananas like Nell.
Right.
Now that you've got Sasha already, I mean, at least I like that they're addressing it, and they have Sasha at least feeling some twinge of regret about, she is somebody that has a big lie in her life, and Mike knows that Michael is somebody that doesn't want to get involved with somebody like that. Are we just setting this up to have Michael get interested in somebody that's ultimately just going to blow up, and then she's just going to fade out and go?
Yeah, because what happened at the end of this week? What was the last thing we saw at the end of this week? Her knocked out from whatever they gave her for the cold, which is funny to me that they gave her something to knock her out, but they didn't give him nothing. Or he had just shown up at the hospital, right?
Yep.
So he didn't have a chance yet. Okay, so there's that. But I love the fact that they ended the cliffhanger end of last week was her saying, I wish you were Nina, I wish you were my real mother. And Michael just happened to be the one to hear that.
What?
You know what I mean? So it's just like, okay, so how is he going to handle that? What's he going to do with that information? Is he going to keep it a secret? Is he going to ask her about it? Like, I'm interested to know what way that's going to twist.
If this thing blows up in Michael's face, which I have no reason to not think that, given his track record. I feel like at this point, then I need to have Michael go through some serious self-reflection about, like, why does pretty much everybody I get myself involved with, they end up just being horrible people?
Because his mother. Because you're always attracted to somebody that has some kind of trait like your parents, right? His mother is a hot mess. We love Carly, but she's a hot mess. And she's problematic, and she's troublesome, and she's all of those adjectives, right? So it stands to reason that he would be involved with somebody that has those characteristics, because that's what his mother exudes. And he loves his mom, as crazy as she is. He loves her, so he seems to naturally be drawn to that. Like the few little times that somebody did try to go out with him that had no baggage, it didn't last long. Like, it lasted an episode, literally.
Yeah, well, that one
with that nurse, remember that?
But that was doomed because they said, like, let's just treat this like an interview. Like, that's already signed.
Yeah, it's like it's done.
No. Bye-bye.
And then the whole situation with Kiki was cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs too, but they never really kind of hooked up. Like, it was implied that they might hook up for the long haul, but that never really happened.
That's true. And then we had Sabrina, and then she ended up getting killed by Paul Hornsby. But she was a boring character, so
They made her boring though, because she was very interesting when they first brought her on. Remember, she wore the glasses and she was mousy, and then she kind of like had that Cinderella moment where the glasses disappeared, and she was all into was it Patrick? Yeah, she was all into Patrick Drake and all that madness, and then after the drama died down with her and Patrick, then she became boring. Then they made her kind of fade into the sunset.
it was unfortunate. I feel like I am curious about when it comes to running a soap opera, because there are storylines that when they reach sort of a climax, some characters are very easy to break off and take into other storylines, and they still are excellent. And there are other characters that are just, once that climax happens, those characters are kind of cut off at the legs.
I think the fans dictate the storylines as soaps. I've had a few friends that have worked on soap operas, and one of them in particular she was a recast of someone on One Life to Live. One of my friends played Tina Lord on One Life to Live, and Tina Lord was a really popular character on like Susan Lucci popular on One Life to Live. And my friend came in, I think she might have been like the second or third person to play Tina on the show, and the fans dictate what happens. The fans were not having my friend as Tina Lord, and they got rid of her and brought the original girl in to play her.
Wow.
And at that point, they started to, rev up the storyline. But when my friend was playing Tina Lord, not so much. Like, they tried, but it didn't. Like, you can't predict who's going to have chemistry with who. So I think when they're casting the soaps, they cast what they think is the best person possible for that recast or for that first character, whatever it's going to be. Like for example, when they cast Maurice Bernard as Sonny Corinthos, they introduced him as something, he was playing Nico or something on All My Children. So he still had that cute, boyish, dangerous kind of charm on All My Children. And then the people at ABC loved him, and they turned those characteristics into something that made Sonny Corinthos very interesting. Because there are moments where you see Sonny be kind of boyish and he's always been very charismatic. He's always been very dangerous. They've made him even more mafioso-like as he's gotten older by slicking his hair back. Because there was a moment where his hair was kind of, it was kind of cute and fluffy, and now they've got him slicking his hair back. So I don't know if they've got him slicking his hair back because he might have a bald spot or two back there. I don't know. Because, as men get older, some of them lose their hair, some of them don't. It all depends. It's a genetic thing. But in answer to what you said, I think the storylines and how they are executed or not are dictated by the fans that watch the show.
Because when you see Sabrina, Robin comes back, interrupts Sabrina and Patrick's marriage. So then Sabrina, we've got a little burn off the storyline with Sabrina, how do I move on with my life? This is all set up. I really can't be mad at Robin, can I? Because everybody thought she was dead. And then she kind of just flounders for a little bit, and then eventually ends up with Michael, and then she gets killed. With a character like that, it's almost like I think I would have rather just had her, after dealing with all this stuff with Robin and Patrick, say, I'm just going to leave town. This is just too much for me, and I'm just going to start over fresh in a new city. Instead of just playing it out like this, I would rather have that than have a character then just kind of fade into this this is a really boring, nondescript character.
But
and
they
then
do it all the time. They do
it.
They've been doing it like this. General Hospital's been on the air 56 years. They've been doing that for 56 years. For
True.
56 years, they bring in the core group of characters. They always try to keep some what's the word I'm looking for? Some semblance of the original crew. That's why Bobby's still there. That's why Monica is still there. Because Monica and Bobby were part of that original GH crew. Because most of the people in the case of General Hospital have passed on. Most of them, the older crew. The woman that played Jesse, the man that played Steve Hardy. All of those people have passed on. The man who played Alan Quartermaine and the grandfather Quartermaine, all of those people have passed on. So and I noticed this when I watch multiple soap operas, even with Young and the Restless, the girl that plays Jill, there are certain characters and certain families and certain storylines that they try to keep on the soaps, but sometimes those storylines just don't pan out, and then that's when they start introducing new people. And introducing those new people is it's like the lottery, dude. It's like
true.
they either hit or miss. And if they hit, like Maura West's character as Ava, when they hit hard, and when they don't, they end up being somebody like Nina's character who's going to be recast, right?
Yeah.
So and I think the fans dictate that, and I promise, watch and see. I promise you that if whoever takes over for Nina, if that chick comes on General Hospital and it ain't happening, they will get rid of Nina. Nina will no longer cease to exist.
So interesting. Do you feel like of those two characters, Nina and Ava, you feel Ava is the one that's much more of a character that's broken out more than Nina?
Yeah, I feel like Ava, because they gave Nina some layers for a little bit, but then they kind of boxed Nina into a corner after Nathan died. Right? She had some really nice layers happening up until the moment Nathan died. And then the minute Nathan died, they made her this blubbering mess who was all up in everybody else's business, who couldn't get past Nathan being gone, which I get that because grief doesn't have a timetable, right? But in terms of soap operas and characters, I feel like they boxed her in. They started to do that with Ava and Kiki, and then Ryan started killing people. So because she was involved with Ryan, and Ryan was bumping people off in the name of love for Ava, that gave her something else to play. Now they're doing this whole storyline with her where she's trying to seek this revenge on Ryan because he killed her daughter.
Yeah, in fact, we can jump right into that storyline because we see Ava. Last week we saw Ava, Felicia, and Laura meet, kind of hatching this plan. And Laura was like, "Hey, I'm the mayor. I really can't be involved with this. I should get out of this." And then it's like, "Well, I guess I'll just listen to what you're saying."
But that still makes you, that's the funny part. So listening, even being in the same room as the conversation, still makes you an accomplice.
Yeah.
Like how you gonna be all up in the mix and you the mayor of Port Charles? Look, her days as mayor in Port Charles are numbered because between the shenanigans with plotting the whole Ryan thing and Spencer rigging the election, it's just a matter of time before her number is up.
That would be a shame to. I mean, I feel like you do have, especially with that Spencer.
I'm just saying, it's just a matter of time. Because Valentine, he's just waiting to drop that bomb. He's just waiting.
I'm wondering, as a Carla, I'm gonna ask you to do a little role playing.
Okay.
Yeah, as an actress, as a thespian.
All right.
You are a member of the citizenship of Port Charles. Mm-hmm. You're reading the newspaper one day, or you're watching the Port Charles local news, and you see the story that there was election tampering with Laura Collins / Spencer's election, voting for. So something was rigged. I guess we have to do a recount or a re-election. Would you still vote? And you find out that the tampering was done by Laura, the mayor's grandson.
Mm-hmm.
Would you? But she claims to have no awareness of it. It's like, I did not know this was happening.
She
but I completely
didn't.
understand, which is true. But you're only hearing this on the news, so you don't know anything. But she's like, I will submit to a re-election here. We'll do all this. We'll completely open, no secrets. We'll make sure everything's counted properly this time. Would you vote for her again?
Probably would.
Okay.
Because, children, you can't really hold. The only thing you can fault Spencer for is loving his grandmother. He loved his grandmother, so he did what he thought was best in his little childlike mind, even though he's one of those children that's more like an adult than a child.
Yeah.
He has more of an adult sensibility than a childlike sensibility. He's still a child, so you can't fault him for doing something in the name of loving his grandmother. I don't know how laws, like in real life, how laws would pertain to that. But, if I liked her enough to vote for her the first time, I probably would vote for her a second time amid the scandal. Because it would be different if it was an adult.
Got it.
Right? It would be different if it was an adult because there's a huge possibility that she would have known, she would have discovered it and just kind of kept it to herself. But when it's a kid, they got shenanigans. And these kids nowadays, they know how to hide stuff better than anybody I've ever seen. So, yeah, I would have voted for her. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, especially if she took full transparency and full accountability for everything. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's like, and as much as anything you can verify anything, but if one of those words, like she truly found out, like a day or two before the arrest in Port Charles found out. So like she knew this was going on, and she wanted to come forward with everything. But it's like when it's like, oh, I found out, 3 or 4 months ago, and I've just been sitting on it. Then I would probably not, because I'm like, you sat on this for 3 months. What's
Right,
going on?
exactly. I agree with you. Let me flip it back to the whole recasting subject real quick for just a second. So let's talk about the fact that they've recast Carly a few times. So it was the chick who's now playing Dr. Kim was Carly at one point.
Tamara Brown.
Tamara Braun, yes. She was Carly. And then there was somebody else in between her and Laura Wright.
It's Sarah Braun, Tamara Braun, right?
Tamara Braun.
Yeah.
And then, but there was somebody before Tamara Braun. There was another one before Tamara Braun. And then Tamara Braun played Carly like forever. And then when she left, Laura Wright came in and took her place. So Carly is another one of those characters where you were like, well, I was like, really? You gonna replace Carly? Like, seriously? Somebody that's gonna play opposite Maurice Bernard that can hold their own? Yeah. I'm gonna sit back, puff, and wait and see how that turns out. And it's turned out really well. Like, every woman that they've put opposite him in that role has been killing it. And they've won Emmys or they've been nominated for Emmys. So that's a really good example of recasting a role right.
So to speak of that, as we're saying, Kim, of course, being played by the former Carly before Laura Wright. So she's now back in the show. Do you like her in this role, or was it something about her and the role of Carly that made her more interesting to watch?
I'm not gonna lie. When she first came on the show, I couldn't watch her on the show without thinking of her as Carly, because she played Carly on General Hospital for such a long time that for the first maybe 6 months that she was there, I couldn't like program my brain to see her as somebody different. But then as the storyline escalated with Oscar and with Drew and how that was playing out, then I was able to become more invested in her as Dr. Kim Nero as opposed to seeing her as the former Carly Corinthos. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah,
Okay.
I got you. So we were talking about the Ryan, Ava, Laura, Felicia storyline. To wrap that up, we see them kind of hatch a plot where not everybody seems to be on the same page as Ava, though. They want to set up something where Kevin is now going to fake to be Ava's boyfriend to make Ryan so jealous that he'll come for them. And when they do, they're going to catch him. Now, that's where Mac, Felicia, Ryan, and Laura think it's going to end. Captured, taken right to the police. Ava, though, no.
Ava's like, no, I'm taking him out.
Yes.
She's like, I'm going to kill him. I'm going to take him out. I find it very interesting that Kevin has agreed to go along with this. And I think that he is, like they said, he is the perfect person to draw Ryan out, because it would make him nutsoid. Because even Kevin makes the point when he's talking to Laura about, how he's ultimately responsible, how all this plays out. So he said that that Ryan, everybody that Ryan killed, he did it for Ava. Everybody. Anybody that got in the way of his happiness with Ava, he took them out. It didn't matter who it was. It didn't matter if it was Mary Pat. Didn't matter that it was her own child, Kiki. It didn't matter who it was. If they were going to get in the way of his happiness with her, they had to go. So Kevin would be the perfect person, because if Ryan finds out that his own brother, we know how jealous he is of Kevin. If he finds out that Kevin is going after Ava, oh, Lord, he will lose his mind, him and his little one hand.
But I also wonder, does it seem too transparent? Does Ryan fall for that immediately, or does Ryan go like, they're just trying to bait me to come back out, to admit that I'm still alive?
I think he might kind of lurk around for a minute to figure it out, to figure if it's real. And then once he sees, like, he'll have to see them, he'll have to see Kevin spend the night at Ava's house or catch them being intimate, whether it's kissing or whatever it is, for him to completely lose his stuff, I think. Don't you think?
A hot sidebar for 1 second about that is because at the beginning of the week, we ended last week with that cliffhanger of what's in the box. And so we open it this week, and it is indeed Ryan's hand. What place is sending a hand to an individual?
By courier.
Yes, you don't like
on
send
ice.
You don't send it to the law enforcement. You don't send it to the morgue or something like that, and let them pass it on. You send it directly to an individual.
Well, in their defense, they didn't open it up to see what was in there.
But they know it's coming from the Canadian Mounties because they're the ones that found the hand. So they're sending it to them.
But they don't know what's in that package. It could be anything.
Wait, but why are the Canadian police sending it to...
Child, I don't know.
They're sending it directly to Kevin. Why are you sending a hand directly to Kevin? Send it to the morgue and let them notify you. Kind of like, that's just weird. What's going on up there, Canada? What are you doing?
Let me just address what's being said in the Marlon Wallace says Justin Timberlake should write a new song called Hand in a Box.
It's a hand in the box.
That's wrong. And then Michael B said not to be heartless, but he wished that they would let Oscar die already. That is heartless, Michael B. Oh my God. Let me see. And then Tam said, I thought he killed Mary Pat before he got involved with Ava. He did, but he killed Mary Pat because Ava and him had a conversation about how deviant she was and how she wanted to take this person out and take that person out. So he did it as like a trophy to say, look what I did for you. Remember?
Yeah, I mean, he had his tingly sensations towards Ava already. So anything that's going to prevent, like Mary Pat, possibly somebody that knows who the real deal is,
right,
that could spoil that. She's got to go.
And then Charlie in Charge, says Kevin and Ava are going to develop real feelings for each other. That's what I think is going to happen.
I like Laura putting her foot down about that. I was like, don't.
Laura put her foot down, but that ain't gonna stop it from happening.
Oh no, Kevin, no way.
It's a soap opera. You know it's gonna be shenanigans before it's over. Come on now.
No way. What I do like though is that at least it's giving Felicia and Mac more. I'm hoping more screen time in this story.
Yeah, it is.
Please let it be.
Well, hopefully they'll get more screen time because Robert has exited the scene with Finn, the whole Finn, Anna, and Robert situation. He's left, or has he? Because he has Finn's ring, so we don't know.
He's always coming around. I like that Robert Scorpio, baby.
I love that, but yeah.
So before we move on to our next topic, though, folks, thank you so much for watching us. You've helped us become the ESPN of TV talk, just carving that internet real estate for ourselves. But we're also asking for a little bit of help as well. So if you're watching us on YouTube, why don't you like and subscribe? If you're listening to us on iTunes or your podcast of choice, why don't you give us a 5-star rating right there? That would be so appreciated. But no matter where you're listening to, get involved in the conversation. Leave a comment. Like the people that are leaving the comment right here on the chat, so Carla can read all your fine missives and thoughts and opinions as well. So we love when you get a chance to get involved in the shows, and for giving us the opportunity to make shows that give us an opportunity to talk about everything that we love all together in a common space. So thanks so much for watching, and continue to enjoy our shows.
Yes, absolutely. Let me just say this before we continue. They are going off in the chat room about Oscar. They're like, he needs to die already. And then somebody brought up a good point. I think it was Tom Clev who said Oscar will die at the nurse's ball. I think that's going to happen too.
While he's on stage singing that terrible song?
I don't think he's going to make it on stage. I don't think he'll make it on stage. And I think it'll end, and then Cameron will end up having to finish the song with Joss if she finishes the song at all. Like, it's going to be so melodramatic. You know it is.
I would like it to happen, and it's going to be like that Mike moment from last year where he loses and...
he loses his memory in the middle of the song.
Yep, and then Sonny's got to jump up there and save the day.
Because you know, every nurse's ball there's always some dramatic moment that ties in with what's been going on for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks that plays out at the nurse's ball every single year. So
I think my prediction is Oscar will die on the red carpet on the way in. So right there on live TV.
Oh, that's just...
that is awful.
Oh,
that is
no,
truly awful.
I can't... Okay, so while we on the Oscar storyline, let's just talk about the fact that I love that Joss pulled Cameron up and read him the riot act. She was like, what kind of friend are you? It's not like he has another hour or another day or next week. You need to come by the Quartermaine house like today. And he was like, okay. Like, I was like, that was quick.
Yeah, you know... There's two sides of that, too. It's like, yes, okay, read the riot act, but then also take a second and, like, what's going on in Cameron's life? I mean, he's dealing with his brother. He got in a fight at school. Cameron does have
he's on probation.
Issues. Yeah, he's got a couple issues going on in his life.
He got a lot going on. Him and his mom ain't getting along. Like, it ain't like he's just skipping down the street minding his business. So that's not for nothing, but that's going on.
The one thing I will say that is driving me crazy, and I'm not looking forward to this to continue for however long Oscar's going to be with us, is that every time wherever he is, whether it's laying outside on that a nice little relaxing chaise lounge chair on the Quartermaine patio, where it's like, all right, let's get you inside. Okay, one more thing. I just need to do one more thing. It's constantly.
It's always one more thing.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Every scene ends with that.
I have to admit, this week when Josh said, I'm just going to go run an errand, and he's out there sleeping, I thought they were going to come back and find him dead. Like, I kept thinking every time they went to go check on him out on the balcony that he was going to be dead because he didn't look so hot.
It's
kudos to the makeup person because he does look very deathly, sickly, you know. Not for nothing, but, you know.
The awkward staging of Jocelyn. No, wait, it wasn't Monica, Kim, and Olivia, I guess.
Yeah.
Watching them play poker.
Yeah.
So awkwardly staged.
Well, they were sitting in the background, so
Yeah,
it's like,
but they're all grouped right together,
yeah,
right there
and
on the
I
couch.
was like,
Like,
"Oh." And then Monica going, if there was any doubt that he wasn't a Quartermaine, that doubt's gone now after he did that poker face and won the poker game. I'm like, it's a shame. I hate that it took him getting ill for them to have that moment, though. Like, it's a shame that they couldn't have all these moments ahead of time. And then there was all that drama. The whole scene and shenanigans, or the couple of scenes and shenanigans with them debating over whether or not Oscar should ride on this motorcycle with Jason, got on my nerves.
well, would you have
That was
been
some
on the yay or
wasted.
nay
That was some
side?
wasted time, huh?
Were you on the yay or nay of that?
Yay! The boy, look. If he gonna die, let him die the way he wanna die. Like, who wants to die sitting up in a, covered? Like, if somebody told me today that I was out of here tomorrow, I would do everything I wanted to do up until that moment. I would not want to leave anything up to chance of me not being able to live my best life while I still got one, as opposed to sitting around wondering what I could do, especially if I was still physically able to do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was all about that.
I'm enjoying the scenes of the Quartermaines kind of interacting with Oscar, but it does make me wish, it's like, as you're saying, it took it to the death to get those scenes, that it would have been great to have Oscar, if we could have had, in an ideal world, an Oscar involved in a Quartermaine storyline that didn't involve his health.
Yeah,
Earlier
like that
than
would have
this.
been nice. Like, remember a little while ago they had that one scene where him and Monica were supposedly going out to hang out, and then we never saw them hanging out. We just heard about it after the fact because you brought that up. And I was like, I would have loved to seen some scenes with Monica and Oscar, just them having a heart to heart. But what I could do without ever seeing again is Scout sitting on that Chase lounge, because baby Scout looks salty like a mug. I'm like, why does this little girl, she looked like every time they talked to her, her jaws was just tight and pouty. That kid looked like she was like, I need a snack and I need it now. And if y'all don't get me up out of here, I'm about to bust out into that infant cry in 2 seconds.
I think I rather would have not done that scene. Or had you just taken Scott out of that? Because when the whole thing is like, Scott really wanted to show you her toys.
And her face was not illustrating none of that. That kid looked like she could care less about being in that scene or showing a toy or anything else. I was like, oh no.
Yeah, I would have just taken Scott out of that, and just like we could have talked about Scott for a hot second to get us into that scene. Didn't need to see her there.
God. That was
made it
pure.
rough.
That was pure comedy. And then
because it's just without. It's like this Scott or Oscar making the thing like, I like to take Quartermaine as my last name. So I'm now Oscar Nero Quartermaine. Would have felt like it would have hit home for me more if we would have seen more Quartermaine Oscar interactions earlier.
Right. I just felt like that whole situation with him at the Quartermaines this week, it was just they were trying to do too much too fast.
Yeah.
It was like trying to throw everything but the kitchen sink in there. You know what I mean? And then there was that moment where Cameron finally does show up, and then he helps him make that video for Joss. And that's the cliffhanger that we end on, too. I'm like, oh, really? That's what we're going to do this week? But I'm kind of glad it was Cameron. Like, I'm glad he wasn't asking Olivia to do that. I'm glad he wasn't asking Ned to do it or Jason. I'm glad that it was Cameron, It's going to be interesting to see how Oscar's death affects Cameron, because Cameron don't look like he can take too much stress.
No, that's true. And so we've got this whole stuff happening with Oscar and the Quartermaines, but we also have Drew and Kim. And Kim certainly is, she wears her emotions on her sleeve when it comes to Oscar. Mm-hmm. So we've seen the way she's reacted in various different stages, whether it's alone with Julian or when Oscar and her have a heart-to-heart. I'm really waiting for like a nice Drew Oscar scene. Like I thought we were going to get that when they're outside on the patio talking together.
Yeah, and we didn't.
Yeah, and I'm just,
Instead, we got a Drew Jason scene.
That scene was so. I really want them to be brothers.
And I was like, huh?
What?
Oh, child. Let's
why? I hate. This is one thing I do. I like when characters that are passing away, they come with that bucket list, and some of it is like how does this involve? What is this for you? Why do you even care if they are even like? Why they're putting things up that are just like, oh, these are just story points. So we should have this character bring that up. Like, who cares?
That was somebody in the writers' room who forgot to bring it up. That's what happened. They were like, oh yeah, we forgot about this. Let's put that in this week.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, y'all are doing way too much.
And nothing happened either of it.
No, it was just like they talked about it and that was it. But what I really want to talk about before we run out of time is this whole. We talk about Shiloh every week, and we usually spend 3/4 of the show talking about Shiloh. But let's just talk about the fact that Shiloh was like, because Sam was pressing him about the trust. And then he takes her, he couldn't wait to bone Sam. Could not wait. Even when they were knocking at the door and they was about to blow his cover wide open, the police, he was like, that's okay, they'll go away. I'm like, oh, ew. It was so creepy and greasy and just, ugh. Like it was so, that whole situation was so gross. It was just so gross. And what was even grosser, did she have a wire on? Is that what she kept playing with in her back?
As far as I know, she doesn't have a wire. I think
What
she
was
must
that?
have. Did she have a weapon or something back there?
I don't know what that was, because I thought maybe it was a wire. I thought maybe that's why she didn't, why she was hesitating with undoing her blouse, is maybe because she had a wire on.
Because we've never seen her talk about it.
That case that she had on the back of her shirt, it was huge. So it wasn't a gun, because we would have seen the gun. I don't know what was in that case, but that whole situation was just really, really creepy. And then we found out that there were drugs in the cup.
Yeah.
And then we find out that that part of the whole trust in this initiation has to do with him sleeping with people, which is how Willow got pregnant and got that tramp stamp. That's why all them girls got them tramp stamps on their back.
So, I mean, is this, I mean, certainly what is, this is awful what he's doing, but
It's just
I feel like
despicable.
this is not this huge, not the big thing, because he was so concerned that Drew knew something about his past that he didn't want to get revealed. So it can't be just that he drugs women and then sleeps with them, because I think this all started off after he met Drew.
It has
so
to
there's
be
something back
something
there.
else. It has to be something else. But I'm interested to know what Neil's involvement is, because he said he had somebody that was in Dawn a Day. So is Neil Harmony's dad? Would he
Or husband?
or husband? Like
Former husband?
right. So that's interested to know. And then we finally find out that Harmony is Willow's mother, which a lot of people had guesstimated on that.
But do you
a
think
little
real
while
mother
ago.
or adopted mother? I'm thinking adopted if she turns out to be Nina's.
Who, Willow?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a good question. But that whole conversation happens, but then there was that freaking moment where they were in the house in front of Sam, and she was like, "Oh, I'm so nervous," and they do that thing where he has her hands, and he's like, "Okay, go and be." I'm like, "What that? That was some cult that." I don't even know what it's like to be in a cult, but that right there was the most cultish looking thing that they had done thus far in that storyline. I'm like, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's
That was crazy. And this is the other thing that's killing me about this storyline. The fact that every time I turn around, Sam is sneaking in the house. She always sneaking in the house and always this close to getting caught. Like,
yeah.
I just knew she was going to get caught going through those files. I just knew she was going to get caught coming out of getting ready to go into the room where the files were. Like, where did Harmony go down the hall that she don't hear nobody clicking with the door knob? You know what I'm saying? I don't get it.
Now it feels like Harmony though after her conversation with Willow, and Willow says like, "Yeah, you gave me to Shiloh, and then you were jealous, so I'm out." I feel like Harmony is having a change, like because Harmony does know that Willow was pregnant and gave birth to a child. Of course, doesn't know that the child is dead. Well, Will doesn't even know that yet. But do you think that Harmony is changing her views on Shiloh?
Yes, because that's why she decided that it was best for her to go back to Beatrice Corners.
Yeah.
Because she know it's only a matter of time before his number is up, and she doesn't want to be anywhere in the vicinity when that goes down. She can feel it. One thing I'll say about Miss Harmony, she got good instincts. She knows when the shenanigans are about to go down, and she makes sure she is nowhere to be seen when they do.
Yeah, and we see Sonny already like, Shiloh. Shiloh's got confirmation that there's narcotics in that bowl. He's got to go now.
Yeah, and then and how about this? How about Jason was like the voice of reason? That made me laugh out loud. That made me laugh out loud that Jason was the voice of reason. That Jason was like, yeah, so Margot's on your butt. Do you really want to give her a reason to come for you? Because she will come for you.
Yeah.
You know, and then if you think that's bad enough, Christina will hate you for the rest of her life. Like, you've been the person that she goes to no matter what. Do you really want to jeopardize that? And I think at this point, Sonny's just like, he tired.
You know, one thing I liked, because we do have that storyline going concurrent with Christina's deprogramming.
Yes.
And
that was a great scene. Oh.
But the one part of it that I did like is because there's so often the trope of people in soap operas overhearing information that usually it turns out information they shouldn't hear. They're hearing it secret. Like kind of like with Michael hearing about Sasha's kind of drunk, kind of rambling. But what I liked about this is I always like when soap operas can have somebody overhear a conversation about people speaking truthfully about somebody that they care for. And so you get to see that person saying, oh, wow, okay, this person does genuinely care for me. Maybe I've been thinking about things wrong.
Yeah, when Christina overhears that. Yeah, she did. But when they had that moment when she was crying and she said that she basically became involved with Donna Day because she was lonely and she was tired of being lonely, that kind of broke my heart. Like, that broke my heart that this young lady felt like she had to go to such extreme measures to get attention. That's sad.
It was sad. But I'm hoping that those scenes are, especially that scene, kind of admitting what the core of her problem is, as well as hearing how Alexis really feels about her. And it's not this angry thing towards her daughter. It's not trying to control her daughter. Will start breaking her out of it.
I think she needed to hear that. Tom Cleve said something interesting in the chat room. He said that Neil is going to end up being Daisy's father. Because we know little to nothing about Daisy.
Interesting.
That is interesting, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, I could go for that.
Would that be a good enough connection if you found out that he was Daisy's dad? Where you're like, okay, great. It's about a character we really don't know anything about, so whatever.
It would be interesting because you can tell that whoever it was that he was dealing with, he wasn't able to get them out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So so he's doing everything that he thinks he needs to do to try to get Christina out because he wasn't able to get the person that he loved out. He wasn't able to do the right thing by the person that he loved. So he's trying to at least do the right thing by Christina. And then him and Neil and Alexis have that embrace where she kind of just breaks down. I felt bad for Alexis. I really did. I was like, wow, that must be heart-wrenching as a parent to have your daughter right there and look at her and have like no remnants of the person that you raised sitting in front of you. That must be hard.
Yeah, and I mean, even being told by Neil, like, don't attack, don't say this, and then being in that situation and you can't help yourself.
Yep, can't help but do
it's
it.
Like, and I know you told me not to do it.
Yep.
And I did it.
Yep, and then I did it, and it was like, oh man.
So yeah, it'll be curious to see what I like though is that. At least Christina's call was to Valerie, and it wasn't to the Donna Day house.
Yes, I was really happy about that because
yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, if she calls the Donna Day house, I'm going to punch her in her throat through the TV screen.
Yes.
I was just so annoyed at the fact that, first of all, I was annoyed that she was making a phone call, but I was really glad, like you, that she didn't make it to the Donna Day house. But I found it very interesting that she called Valerie, especially after she popped off on Valerie the way that she did. Yeah. The fact that Valerie even answered the phone is like a miracle in itself.
Yeah, I mean, because I guess it wouldn't come out as just a general Port Charles number. She doesn't have Alexis on speed dial. So, well, you think you'd want to have a lawyer on speed dial, maybe, but
maybe.
I guess not.
Maybe not.
So, folks, as we're getting ready to wrap up here, a little bit of news and some flash gossip here.
AfterBuzz TV News.
So, speaking of the DOD, there are some storyline speculations that there could be even a more mysterious hand behind the curtain when it comes to the DOD.
Even behind Shiloh?
Yes.
Oh, bless.
So, yeah. So, which could tie into more about, like, the secret that Shiloh's so worried about.
I wonder if it's Sam's husband that she thought was dead.
He's not really dead. He's still alive.
They do that on soaps all the time.
Yeah. So the speculation is that perhaps this person could have an issue with Jason or Sam or both, or Sonny. So it could be Jason or Sonny.
I could see that.
It could be the mysterious backer. That's the reason that they're doing all this.
Okay.
So yeah. So we're going to see how this goes. Speculation is, could it be Alcazar? Would you want to see Alcazar?
Oh my God. You did not throw that name out.
Yeah.
That is truly a blast from the past. Alcazar, man. Wow. Okay. I could deal with a little Alcazar action since we don't have any more Cassadines, since Helena can't come back from the dead no more.
Well, the one thing I was thinking as we were talking about Sonny's storyline, it's like it has been a while since we've had him involved with a true mob-related threat. And now we've had Michael's Alzheimer's, we've got Christina's and the cult stuff. We've got the pregnancy storyline, but it's been a while since we've had like a real threat to the mob business side of it.
We need a villain to show up. I'm down for Alcazar. That could be cute.
All right. And of course, we know that Oscar's time is fading quickly here. So,
yeah. Later in the chat room, somebody said Helena is the leader of DOD, and Dula Mama's like, no, please. He's like, no. He's like, please, let's not bring, because they didn't brought Helena done had more lives than a cat, honey.
Yes. So we figure May 1st is going to be an episode where Oscar's loved ones will come to grips with his imminent death. So it's going to be coming up, I think, hopefully by like the next week or so. We should probably be seeing that.
Hope.
So let's hope.
Let's hope.
What hopeful ways to wish this character.
Wrap that storyline up, honey. Put a nice little bow on it. Boom, done. Poof.
There you
like the snap in Avengers. Done. Snap. Go.
What a hopeful beat to end this episode of the GH Report on, isn't it? I like that. Wishing for a teen's untimely death. Folks, that's going to do it for this episode of the GH Report. Like us on Facebook, give us those 5 stars on iTunes, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and thank you, everybody, for hopping in the chat. I know Carla's been enjoying reading your comments. If you want to stay in touch with any of us, even after the show's over, Carla, where can they find you?
You guys can find me across all social media platforms at The Curvy Critic. And right before the GH Report, you can pop on over to BHL Online and catch me there doing all the reviews of the latest releases at The Curvy Critic on Black Hollywood Live.
Nice. Follow me on the Twittergrams at HappyGoJackie. Folks, we'll be back here next Sunday with an all-new episode of the GH Report right here on AfterBuzz TV.
Bye.
Our founder, Kevin Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.